There's something really interesting with this character that I find fascinating, which is that he genuinely really does just want to do the right thing. But everywhere he goes, whether it's a new town or a new bar, people just kind of give him a hard time and they rag on him despite the fact that he has great intentions. I'm curious if that's comparable to this sort of world, this culture of toxic fandom, where like if you make a movie, especially if you make a superhero movie, like you have great intentions, but there are always going to be a small yet vocal group of people there can kind of just be toxic.
I understand what you're saying, but when it comes to fans, it is a fan's right to have whatever opinion they want to have. And people are going to be upset because, especially when you're talking about books or games, because you're never going to be the exact person who they had in their head or who they played on Witcher 3, for example. I don't necessarily consider that toxic. I just consider that passionate.
The situation surrounding Warner Brothers and DC and James Gunn is complicated to say the least, and I think it's going to continue to get worse and worse as this progresses. It started out on a really bad foot with the announcement that Henry Cavill will not return as Superman. One of the biggest mistakes I think we've seen in a long time. Now, as I said on Friday Night Tights, I can totally understand from certain perspectives why you wouldn't want to bring Henry Cavill back. I hate the idea that they're going to go for a new, younger version of Superman. I don't think that's a good move at all when you have literally the most perfect casting on the planet right there. And coming off of the heels of Black Adam, which we're going to discuss that here in just a little while, but his appearance in Black Adam got everyone excited. There was a lot of energy. Of course, that was right before James Gunn came on to take over the DC cinematic universe, and now everyone is confused. As I said on Friday Night Tights when we were discussing this, Henry Cavill is the perfect casting, and we've seen other actors that were portraying a role that were perceived to be a perfect casting, and fans are willing to overlook all of the continuity errors that comes with it. The example I used was Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. We've seen Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in all type of continuity errors, all types of leaps of logic, and people still stuck with it because they loved Hugh Jackman in the role as Wolverine. Fans are willing to do the same thing for someone like Henry Cavill in the role of Superman. It's just a perfect casting. And when you're starting out on a bad foot like that, and now we're getting more reports of Black Adam, where The Rock is pretty much unfollowing all of the social media accounts, and it says Black Adam 2 seemingly dead after The Rock unfollows Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Black Adam. You also have this. James Gunn bluntly reacts to the messy Black Adam situation. DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn set the record straight on his involvement with the situation surrounding Black Adam and everything that the movie set up in the DC universe. Even with all the excitement surrounding Gunn's promotion to the top of the DC food chain, there are some complications regarding the transition between the last era of the DC universe and the one on the way. Recently, Gunn confirmed that the path for the DC EU or the DCU won't include Henry Cavill Superman. Even after he made an epic comeback in Black Adam's mid-credit scene, Dwayne Johnson reportedly strong-armed Cavill's return himself after the previous leadership at Warner Brothers prevented a Superman appearance. This was ultimately undone shortly after, when it didn't fit into Gunn and his vision for the DCEU with a younger version of Man of Steel. Now the DC Studios head has responded to a couple of fan comments to share the real story following Cavill's exit. It says James Gunn addresses Black Adam mess for DC. And there's the shot of Henry Cavill in his return, which, again, I didn't watch Black Adam, but I did see this post-credit scene after it leaked, and it was phenomenal. And this is the exact version of Henry Cavill's Superman that I wanted. As everyone that watches this channel already knows, I never liked Zack Snyder's vision. I never liked it at all. So while I love Henry Cavill in the role, I didn't like his iteration of Superman, but I was excited for them to write the proper Superman with the perfect casting, Henry Cavill. After we saw this appearance, that made me excited, someone that's been a critic of the Snyderverse. And now you've taken that away too. They've literally pissed everybody off with this situation. DC CEO or DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn responded to a couple of fan comments on Instagram addressing the messy handling of Cavill's return to and exit from the DCU. A fan asked Gunn if it was true Warner Brothers strung Henry Cavill along to get him to bump numbers for Black Adam and leave his role on Netflix's The Witcher, only to boot him from the role. Gunn explained that everything with Black Adam was before he took his position, indicating that Cavill was already part of that project before the transition of power. Another fan said that it's really effed up seeing Cavill have to leave his role on The Witcher to come play Superman, only to find out that he won't play Superman anymore. Gunn clarified that claim, noting that those things had nothing to do with each other. Many speculated that the timing of Cavill's exit from the Netflix series suspiciously lined up with his return for Superman. Gunn moving past the Black Adam and DC disaster. While fans were hoping that Black Adam would bring a change to the hierarchy of the power of DC Universe, its debut, along with Gunn's new position of leadership, has instead brought plenty of chaos and confusion. This became even more of a problem with fans when the movie brought back Cavill, only for Gunn and his team to move towards a different actor for Superman. Even though the 4 movies will finish the current era of the DCU in 2023, there are countless questions being asked about what will happen with DC's biggest names as Gunn and Safran work towards their new plan of the story. Many DC fans, while disappointed with the loss of Cavill as Superman, remain hopeful that DC can chart a strong long-term plan in a fresh new direction. And again, I think this article was written before we got the news that The Rock has now unfollowed the accounts for Black Adam on social media, seemingly showing that he's pretty much done with that. And I doubt The Rock's ever going to mention that project ever again. But we'll see. Who knows what's going on with DC right now? It's a disaster. It's been a disaster for a long time. And I really, really, really hope that we don't get some like young, skinny Superman soy boy. And that's my concern right there. If they move to that type of nonsense after you just got rid of Henry Cavill, fans are going to just lose their minds. As we talked about on Friday Night Tights, you don't need a 10-year plan. You don't need a 5-year plan. What you need to do is establish Superman first. If you establish Superman first, everything else can be built around that. In my opinion, and of course I'm not an expert on this, I'm just a fan sitting here talking on the internet. But if I'm looking at this, I want Henry Cavill's Superman. I want to focus in on a solo Superman movie, Superman in his prime, bring back the greatness of the Christopher Reeve Superman, that feel, that vibe, bring back the John Williams score, put the curl back on, bring back the red underwear, give us a hopeful Superman again, and then create the world through that after you've launched the DC cinematic universe with the proper Superman. That's the way to do it. Not all of this, but time will tell. Fans are going to be discussing this for a long time. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.